We are back with Master Your Metabolism and our conversations that we have with people that are like-minded about getting healthier and doing it in a sustainable, healthy, natural way. So I'm very excited to introduce Tanya Kelsey. I met Tanya, Tanya, nearly about a year ago. We were involved with BNI. I remember we met each other there in Stellenbosch at one of those wonderful wine estates, and we had a long conversation about health. You yourself is in the health space. And I just knew that there was somebody here that's passionate about health. And then we had this amazing journey where you joined us for the 12-week program, which was awesome. And you did really, really, really well. So I can't wait to share your story and have some of your insights about how that panned out for you. So before we get going, I'm going to ask a couple of questions and we'll take it from there. But before we get going, just give everybody a bit of a brief idea of who is Tanya, where do you live, a bit of a background as to you, the person.
Great. Thank you, Fran, for having me on here. Okay, so I'm Tanya Kelsey. I currently live in Paarl. When people ask me where I live, I usually say on this planet because I have moved around and lived various places, but I'm currently living on the outskirts of Paarl on a little farm. And
Beautiful.
Yes, we met at BNI. And as you've mentioned, I'm also in the health and wellness industry. And yeah, I'm 48 years old, so I'm bordering 50. Hit menopause, a little while ago. And that's what got me into the health and wellness industry. So I do the LifeWave patches. It's also health-based. And so I'm all about, passionate about people's health and helping them improve what their bodies and how their bodies react to certain things. So I believe a very important part of that is nutrition. And that's where you come in. I've been a yo-yo dieter my whole life. And I know a lot, but I also realize that there's a lot that I don't know, especially when you're self-taught. It's much better to have a sounding board and a group like yours to be able to, speak about these things and learn new things. Again, like I said, I thought I knew a lot, but I actually have been in,
No, thank you very much. That's awesome. I'd like to kick off with one question. There's a lot of times people ask me, like, what's the shortcut? What's the one thing that one can really do to make changes? And my question to you is, if someone feels stuck right now, what's the one sentence version of what's possible in your experience?
I honestly believe that it starts with yourself and mindset. It's definitely all about mindset. You can take a horse to water, but, as the saying goes, you can't make them drink. So you can, and you and I have had these conversations too before, we meet people along the way, and I've literally adapted the saying of, you have to participate in your own rescue. And for me, it's about mindset. And then I would say, once that mindset is right, a very key component to changing is your nutrition, what you put in your mouth. You can exercise till the cows come home and adapt, certain things. But unless you have some kind of mentorship and some kind of accountability, I would say that nutrition is like right up there. But I would say first and foremost is mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you say, talking about mindset, and if somebody is feeling stuck right now, thinking, I can't turn this around. I've tried too many times. I've tried and failed so often that I just don't see even the value of engaging again, trying to be healthy. And I love that you say that one needs to participate and your mindset needs to be there, because we've seen miracles happen. Both of us, when people actually engage and they say, okay, I'm going to do something, you want to do the right thing, of course. But if you take your time and slowly but surely start implementing stuff that works, you need to speak to the right people, get the right support, then literally anything is possible. Because both of us have seen amazing turnarounds in months, a year, 2 years. People are so totally different to what they were previously, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And I know exactly what you're talking about because I was there too. I felt like that too. Most recently, that's why I joined your program. But, prior to that, I've had those ups and downs in my life where I felt like I've passed the point of no return. And what do I do? And, at the end of the day, if you don't decide for yourself, nobody else can help you. It really
Yeah.
is on that mindset. So,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, it's exactly what you're saying. People need to decide, well, they need to decide for themselves, but I felt like that. And so
Yeah.
I can relate. And, now I'm so grateful. I always look back across the year and I mean, we've just head into a new year, but I always look back and I go, what was my best decision of 2025? And I
Mm.
can
Yeah.
honestly tell you, that joining your program is in the top two
Oh,
of
wow.
decisions I did for 2025.
Oh,
Absolutely,
thank you.
because
Yeah,
it's
thank you very much. And it's, I think back on your journey and mindset, coming back to this concept of mindset, the way that you embraced the program as well. It's easy to have a course to follow. It's easy to have guidelines. It's easy to procure good ideas, a formulated roadmap. But if you don't implement, if you don't engage, if you're not excited about what you are doing, not much is going to happen. And you had fantastic results because of your mindset and the way that you tackle it, which was fantastic. But I want to go quickly to when you talked about being in a stuck phase, like going, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this and so forth. What did that look like from a normal day of eating, and how did your energy feel like when you were in that space?
I mean, quite honestly, look, I think I have an advantage, and we're not here to talk about my patches, but
Mm.
I have an advantage because I am patching, and I think it makes a huge difference to the caliber of person, that you can become. It's like your frequency, it's what your vibe is. So for me, but I would say prior to that, when you're in that state of mind, you're very definitely when menopause hit, which was pre-patching and obviously pre-meeting you and all of that, is
Mm.
you have very low energy and you
Yeah.
hit the afternoon slumps, you are tired. Your mindset is just you we're in this field of always being positive and speaking positivity into other people's lives. But you got to also look at yourself and go, you need to also emulate this and be
Mm.
this. And I want to be the best version of me. And I
Yeah.
honestly feel that doing what I'm doing, my patching, all of that is all great because I'm naturally a healthy person and all those things. So, I think you'd also attract that around you. And then just
Mm.
meeting you and going, well, here's something that I can implement. There must be some truth to this. I've done this before, but not with mentorship, guidance, help that you provided.
Mm.
It was all self-taught. And there's so many myths that I thought
Sure.
and
Yeah.
adapted and thought, oh, this is how it must be done, which was completely off track. And so I can honestly say, that it made such a huge difference to be part of a group, part of a community that does what we do now. I keep saying
Yeah.
you, but I'm there,
Yeah. We
what
do.
we
You're
do
right.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
And
Yeah.
And I laugh sometimes. I've said this before, and overhear other people's conversations, and they seemingly are talking about all these healthy things. And I think to myself, "Mm, well, I feel you. I was there before."
Yeah, how do you feel about the word conventional stupidity or the phrase? And I use it with utmost respect, because I mean we can only make decisions for ourselves around our health, around everything in our lives based on the information at our disposal, right? And
Yes.
for it feels like forever we've been told things about food and nutrition, which
Mm.
once you take a bit of a deep dive and you start experimenting and you start being inquisitive about what really works for you and what doesn't, the light bulb goes on about, oh my word, this doesn't make me feel good. This makes me feel good. My body loves this. My body doesn't like that. And once we go down that path,
Yes.
it's amazing that you then, as you say, you listen to other conversations. My pet thing to do is when I'm in a grocery store, I look in what is in people's trolleys. And I go, oh my word, I know you're going to spend 3,000-4,000 rand, but there's hardly any nutrients in that trolley. There's nothing. There's sugary drinks, there's cereals, there's processed grains and wheats and all of these things. And I'm going, your body doesn't want that. You're heading for trouble, spending a lot of money. Anyway, that's, yeah.
It's,
I mean,
it's exactly. And I agree with that 100%. And again, I was there, with my trolley filling in, and my grocery list has gotten smaller. And again, this isn't, you got to go what works for you.
yes,
What works for me. Yes, we have a general concept, and we have the rules and the things we stick to.
yeah,
But, maybe I do better on a different split of hours, or I'm like, I love the 3-day fast, or,
yes.
and it may not work for somebody else. It's
Mm,
like anything in life, you got to find what works for you. What does
mm,
your body respond?
yeah,
How do you actually feel? And what are you learning? And for me, it was such a beautiful self-discovery of what my body is experiencing. And 100% nutrition is so up there with
yeah.
everyday activity and life.
Mm,
You are waking up at a certain time, we all have the same hours in the day, all of
yeah.
us. We all have the same 24 hours. We all wake up at a certain time. We all go to bed at a certain time. How well do you sleep? Why do you not sleep well? And it generally comes
Mm,
down to nutrition and
yeah.
obviously your cortisol levels. So what shoots your
Sure.
cortisol? We know this now.
Yeah.
And, as I've said before, I do the patching, which is great, but I can tell you now, if a person's nutrition
Mm,
isn't on par, the patching is not going to have the wonderful effect, and I honestly believe quicker or slower, the results on that side is actually based on nutrition, which is
mm,
what your program teaches,
yeah.
which I
Yeah,
absolutely love.
I love what you're saying there, because it's very much my contention, and I stand to be corrected, and I love debating this. But I think that the foundation to one's health is food and nutrition. So everything else that we do, whether we are exercising, whether we are patching, whether we are meditating, whether we are making sure we're getting enough sleep, all of those are adjuncts to the foundation of your health, which is heavily relied on what you are putting into your body. And and and
Exactly.
and out of the nutrition sphere, I would say 80%, making up a stat, 80% is what we eat, but then also the timing, when we
When
eat,
we eat.
and also how much we eat of the stuff that we eat. And fascinating stuff happens
Absolutely.
when that's the case. But I want to come back quickly to just before you started the program and before you started on your health journey, I mean, as you said, there's a lot of things that you did before the program, also engaging. You're somebody that exercises quite regularly and with high intensity, which is amazing. But before you really realized years ago already that one need to focus on health, what were the things that you were struggling with? I mean, was it cravings, fatigue, mood, sleep, weight, pain, confidence? What was it that what you say was your major concerns around your health?
I would say it was the lack of energy. We're talking now way, not
Way
just
back. Yeah,
not just from before starting your program. I would
yeah,
say way back, there
yeah.
was a definite shift happening within my physiological body. From an
Mm-hmm.
age perspective, you slow down. I found that for me, after 40, hitting 40, it's like this dramatic change within my body.
Yeah.
Things were just slower. I was just more lethargic, and I'm naturally, I'm a an up and going person. I like to exercise. I like to do all those things, but I got to a point where it didn't matter what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, nothing for me. It was predominantly a weight thing. So I was heavily overweight at one point, and
Yeah.
I just thought to myself, I've literally passed the point of no return. Like,
Mm.
I don't even know how to turn back from this.
Oh, it's a terrible
And
place to be in, Tanya. Is that place of
terrible.
hopelessness, absolute
Yeah.
hopelessness. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where you look, the people that are advertising all the stuff for all these beautifully slim people, and you're like, you're right. It's like you had a weight problem ever, and it
Yeah.
was like, for me, it was really getting the mental thing right, that I actually have the ability to change my viewpoint on
Mm-hmm.
things, that I have the ability to adapt the identity of somebody who is healthy, who chooses to eat the right food.
Mm.
And when I was sitting with not good stuff, so I was heavily overweight, the inflammation in my joints was quite bad. And I
Yeah.
just thought, I'm not even old yet, and I want to be active and around for grandchildren in the future. And I
Yes.
don't want to be this overweight, awfully overweight person and unhealthy. I owe it to myself, first off, and I owe it to my family to actually take better care of myself. And it came down to a principle of ethics in myself as to what
Wow.
I'm putting in my mouth.
Yes.
And also, if I was eating the wrong thing, whether it was a peanut butter sandwich or whatever, I would have that and go, what identity am I being by having this? I'm being the lazy sandwich eating, couch sitting potato, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Whereas if I was choosing wiser foods to put in the mouth, or the mindset, so it was mindset, because
Yeah.
every time I did this, I was like, what am I being? Oh, I'm being the healthy, active, toned, happy person who's eating, eggs and salads and chicken salad and things, which was
Yeah.
never in my way of eating ever. I would always say, salads and that is rabbit food. And,
Yeah.
we all have these
But
concepts,
yeah, Tanya, that's
but it's
so
an
amazing.
identity.
Yeah, it's so amazing talking about this identity because we gravitate towards the identity or the image that we have of ourselves in our mind. And that image is always there 24 hours a day. And doesn't matter what we do, if we try and act differently to that image, the image draws us back in and brings us back to our old habits. So, I mean, changing that
Yes.
image. I always say to people, that when you stand in the queue at a Woolies or a Checkers or a Pick and Pay or whatever, or a convenience shop, the last 20, 30, 40 meters, they push you into this aisle laden with
Absolutely.
all of this poisonous stuff. I call it the aisle of death. And people people say that, oh, it's so difficult to go through there because the sweets and the stuff was constantly drawing your attention, and then finally you give in and you grab. And I say, well, for somebody that doesn't smoke, right? Your image that you've got, your identity that you have is that of, I'm not a smoker. I'm a non-smoker. It's not part of who I am. So when you then walk past that cigarette counter that's normally just before you hit the door, you don't even look at that. You don't even notice it at all. But while you're a smoker, you are very aware of that counter. And that to me is all about identity. And yes, I agree with you so much. It's about the picture in our mind, our mindset. And then it's so important to say, okay, I am, even if you are a couch potato, even if you're somebody that scoffs down 2 or 3 big packs of potato crisps every day, if you actually start off with, you know what, I'm actually a healthy person, start working on that image and going, and slowly but surely that's going to start taking traction. All of a sudden you're going to go, but I'm a healthy person. Why am I sitting on the couch with 150 grams worth of salt and vinegar chips? And I'm using that example because that was me. Absolutely going, unconsciously just going, not worrying, but then having to change the mindset and image. That's a wonderful thing. I love what you are saying there. That's very, very cool. And before you changed your image, what did you believe about health? If there's one thing that you can think about that you believed about health, and remember, you've had a long journey of improving your health, going through quite a couple of things and doing the patching, doing nutritional thing and so forth, and finding your way to health. It does take time. But before that started, what did you believe about health? And what was the one thing that you can think that really later changed in your mind about health? If you'd had to think back, this is what I believe. Oh my word, this is what I believe now. What is something that quite dramatically changed about, or your thinking about health?
Sure. That's a very good question. The thing I mean, if I had to really sit and think about it, I would come up with loads of answers. But for me, I've always been a healthy person, touch wood. So I'm not on any chronic meds, but it's again a choice. I'm not someone that goes for medication as a first resort. If I had a headache or something like that came on, which was unusual anyway, I would go, why? I'm probably dehydrated. I probably need more water or some salt or lemon or whatever. I would say one of the things from even way back was the fact that you had to have breakfast was the most of the day.
Yeah.
And I grew up on a farm. So I'm a farmer's daughter. I come from a farmer's family. And it was always about having a big breakfast, and growing up on a farm, it was, as they say in Afrikaans, rice, vleis, and aardappels. So, you have your starch is so important, and you have to have, my mindset has always been back then, you need your 3 healthy big meal times, and you must eat breakfast in the morning, lunch at lunchtime, dinner at dinner time, and then you must snack in between. Because that's how I would say is probably, I would say that was probably my biggest myth, my biggest misconception, because you become a clock time eater. You become completely
and food is constantly on your radar, right? Because I mean, if you're eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacking in between, you are constantly looking for food, because snack time is coming up. What am I going to eat? Dinner is coming up. What am I going to eat? What's for breakfast? Oh my word, I'm busy eating dinner and I'm thinking about what's on for breakfast. Then after breakfast, what am I going to snack at 11? It's just this constant thinking about food all the time, right?
And not to be boastful, I'm a very, very good cook. So
Yeah.
it's part of my love language too, is to make
Yes.
divine food. And having, we're talking some years ago, my children were still little. So I would always make sure there was meals and properly cooked, vegetables, starch, meat. We were never a takeout family. So it was always, we make it at home. I would cook at home. I would bake cookies. I would, bake cakes. I would make snacks for school, and think of inventive ideas, that my children were balanced eaters,
Mm.
And because of it being my responsibility in the house, the food and the prep and everything was my hat. I
Yeah.
would always make sure the grocery lists and the cupboards were stocked, and there's a little snacky because somebody's going to feel like a chippy or a cookie or a whatever. So there's always that around.
Mhm.
And, also the misconception of what they tell you on the label, of whatever it is you're buying. And if it says sugar-free and all that, oh, it's the truth, it must be healthy. Until you
Yes.
start looking for yourself. I'm all about an individual needs to analyze the data at hand. So
Mm.
whatever that is, even though the masses say it's a certain way or it must be this way, I would always try to have my own viewpoint and go, what is this? What is this? Um, Everyone's saying do this, but I feel better when I do this. And
Yeah.
slowly that kind of unraveled like an onion. But that I
Mm.
would say, I mean, it's a long roundabout way of telling you, but
Sure.
my biggest myth was the 3 meals a day. You have to snack in between. Breakfast was the most important meal of the
Mm.
day. And how dare you miss breakfast, because then your
Yeah.
body's gonna like think you're
And
starving it. It's gonna hold on to everything. Oh my hat. It's like,
yeah. And it
yeah.
turned out to be the complete opposite. Breakfast is just not required. Okay, listen,
Yeah.
yeah, wonderful. I love you sharing this with us. And let's turn our minds to the program itself and starting the program. And I want to ask you about that. I mean, what was the first change you made that actually felt doable, was easy for you? Thinking back on the program, a couple of things that we asked you to do, what did you think was, oh, okay, this is different, but doable. I can do this.
I think the one thing that stood out for me, so I told you I was a yo-yo dieter. And
Yeah.
so it's, when I always say to people, we had this conversation last night, I'm not one of those people that talks and talks and talks. And yes, I talk a big game, but I always say to people, watch my feet, because
Mm.
you'll see what I'm doing and it will follow with what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's who I am. So when I decide to do I'm an extremist. So it's all in or it's nothing. And every time I've committed to a diet or a way of eating or something, I know it's going to be dramatic. I know it's going to be cold turkey. I know it's like going to be like, excuse the expression, balls to the wall. Like I
Yeah.
have to, like, it's going to be hard, and I just know it. And the day we met, when you said, okay, we're starting and whatever, I was like expecting this cold turkey. You have to have black coffee. It's this like, I was expecting that. I was expecting the lists to come through. I was expecting, well, guys, no more, never ever. I was absolutely shocked, like literally shocked to my core, that we were just having a conversation and we were
Mm.
just being told, don't worry about it. This week, all I want you to do is just log it. Just log. And it was like, no, no, no. Like, where's the
Want to get
list?
going?
And like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, no, we don't do this. This
Yeah.
was last week. This wasn't the first week,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was fully expecting, like, throwing out the cupboards and doing all these things. And you were like, no, we're just going to monitor now. What are we actually doing? And what are we putting in our mouths? And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Okay.
okay, relax much. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay. But it was so refreshing
Yeah.
and so caught me off guard. And it was actually, that's why I said your program is the easiest program I've ever done, because it so just glides you in that you naturally start doing every step, even before you get to the step that you learn about that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. That's an awesome story. Thank you. I mean, and also the other thing, gliding in, and talking about support. You had a very nice journey with your husband as well, if I remember correctly. Your husband were supporting you all the way. As a matter of fact, he also engaged and he also joined you in eating in the way that we prescribed. Yeah? Tell me a bit more about that and what was the impact for both of you and also for him.
Yes. Well, I just, when I got to this point of deciding that I'm actually going to do your program, it was
Yeah.
a point of going, if I don't do this now, and I had this conversation with him, and I said, if I don't do this now, we're going to go through December. We're going to continue eating, and we're not unhealthy eaters. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
Yeah.
not like we take it out every day, type vibes or anything, but I just said to him, whatever I'm doing is not working. That's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again
Yes.
without changing the result, right?
Yeah.
And I just said to him, whatever I'm doing is not working. If I don't do this now, I feel like I can get the guidance and the help and the support from you and this program. And if I don't, I'm going to just balloon and I'm going to pass that point of no return. I would rather put in this effort, feel better, feel stronger, and, will you support me in this? And he said, absolutely, 100%,
Awesome.
let's do this. And in fact, I'll just eat whatever you eat. I'm game. It's cool, because now our kids are at the house. It's very easy. So I said to him, be careful what you wish for, because I don't know what this is going to be.
Because remember, Tanya, you go balls to the wall, right?
I go balls to the wall. And I was expecting, I said, no, you will never be able to do this. But it was kind of like this cheeky little challenge between us.
Yes.
And he absolutely blew my mind with the reaction. Actually seeing him was even more motivating for me. And guys, just so you know, my husband is not an overweight, unhealthy guy. He's actually on par in the weight category he should be in. He's lean, he's exercises, he doesn't have nothing, So for him to even go, okay, I'm doing this with you, because yes, he ate the sourdough breads every day. The Provitas got kept for work, the sourdough laden with peanut butter, because we thought, well, that's you and your body can thrive on that. That's fine. And sourdough is the best and blah, blah, blah. Not to, talk down sourdough for those bread lovers out there. But
it is what it is.
It is what it is. And, to realize there's no nutritional value. No wonder you're in your program. No wonder he's always hungry, because he was not eating nutrient, because he's a grazer. And that's why I said to him, there's no ways under the moon, sun, and stars you will be able to do this with me, because you are always hungry and you always have to eat. He literally has to graze from one to the next to the next.
Yeah.
And it was just because it was the wrong food.
Yeah, because his body
Really?
is constantly looking for nutrients. Remember, for men, when most people coming on the program are menopausal women, it's because that time of one's life is when you really start struggling with metabolic health because of the hormonal changes.
Yeah.
But for men that they still have a higher level of energy consumption, because men just have more muscle mass than women. That's just the way it is. So men tend to be hungry all the time, even more so than women, because they're just burning 30 to 40% more energy sitting down than women would. And then when we give them, or when they eat, um, nutrient deficient foods like bread,
Yes.
pasta,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
these type of things, they're constantly hungry. And you know what?
Yeah.
They overfeed on energy and bang, it all goes to the midriff. Now, fortunately, your husband has been healthy, active,
Yes.
and been conscious about what he's been eating, and he's managed to keep a reasonable health, right? And now,
Yes.
what happened when he started eating nutrient dense foods?
First off, another shocker of your program, which I realized in the first week already, is how you generally, and we've spoken about this,
Yeah.
people undereat on their protein.
Yeah.
Nobody eats enough protein.
Mm.
And I was shocked. I still said in that first week, I don't even know how I'm going to eat so much protein. Like, I'm not used to this. Now it's easy, but then it was like, oh heavens, we are not nearly near where we should be. Because like I said, hubby would have a toast with peanut butter. That's not
Yeah.
protein. That's not
Yeah.
nutrient dense.
Yeah.
And when you
Yeah.
said to me, no, you'll see your grocery bill goes down, because I was like, how on earth am I going to afford steak and biltong? Like, there's no
Yeah.
ways. But oh my heck, it's like organically happened. And that's what we eat now is steak and eggs and biltong. And it's like top of our food list, top of my grocery list. And it
Yeah.
fits in the budget.
Yeah.
So,
Let's talk about that quickly, Tanya. That's such an important part of eating healthy because, firstly, the first myth is it's extremely expensive to eat healthy. And there you said it just now, to eat healthy is actually the cheapest way. Why? Yeah, you spend more rand per kilogram for your steak than you would for a box of cereal, but there's no nutrients in the cereal, and you then keep on eating other stuff, and then slowly but surely all of those bills start heating up, and it's heaping up, and it's chocolates here, and it's this drink there, and it's all the other peripheral stuff. And so that's the one thing. So it is cheaper, absolutely. Would you also agree that it's less time in the kitchen? It's not making all of these complicated stuff anymore, and you can prep. You can, okay, let's just do a couple of steaks, or let's just do 20 chops for that matter, and freeze some of them, or put them in the fridge, and we can reheat them, and so forth. And the food noise goes, that thing of constantly having your radar up for what am I going to eat next. That's also gone. It just becomes so more simplistic.
Yes.
Yeah. Also your
and totally, I agree with everything you said. And your self-discipline on being in a fasted state, when you go shopping and you get to the death aisle, even though it may be when normal people would be eating as such, I would walk down, and it just, Gavin or me, it wouldn't bother either of us, because we just didn't, it was like, no, I'm not ready to break my fast. So, you have that discipline in. So therefore, you literally, your grocery bill goes down because you're reading labels and you're checking. And, if you can't make it naturally and it has to come out of a packet, it's not good for you. If you have to pour it out a bottle or a jar or a whatever,
But then can you say that again, please, Tanya, and shout it from the rooftops? If it has to come from a packet.
Yeah, if it has to come out of a packet or a bottle that's been, or a jar or a tin can that you have to open and empty into your food that you are seemingly trying to cook, it's not good for you. It can't be good for you. It's gone through so much processing to get to that point. Yes, there's things you can't get away from, like we coffee snobs. So we like to buy good coffee, and it's ground coffee, and we have a coffee machine. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about your tins of, I don't know, tomato, onion, relish. I used to buy them by the 6-pack full, tomato, onion, relish, and whatever. There's this beautiful recipe you gave us, I now call it my delish sauce. I actually
Yeah.
named it delish sauce, and I
Good.
inputted it into the food chronometer, and it gives me the exact what I need, and it's wonderful. I said I've actually shared it with all my friends. I said, guys, forget your pasta sauces and all that nonsense you're buying. It's so processed. You don't know what they're putting in there. Make this.
Yeah.
It's peppers and tomatoes and your recipe, and then gooi in some feta, man, and it just is so good on everything. And I make it and I freeze it. I've always got. It's the best pasta sauce, the best meat sauce. It's the best even over your veggies. And I know because I chopped it and I cut it and I put it in the pan and cooked it with my lard, which came
Yeah.
off my broth.
Yeah. Wonderful. See, there we go. Gems all there. It's
Yeah.
exactly what we teach is use natural foods. And we
Yeah.
can eat so well from that and so tasty. Speaking of
Yes.
foods, if you had to list your top 3 go-to meals, like if you think about what are the if I have to say to you now, okay, Tanya, for the next 3 days, we want to eat something healthy. What would those 3 meals look like for you?
Okay. So my go-to is biltong. So
Yeah,
we always have biltong in the house
yeah,
because it's such a very good protein dense, it's protein and
mm,
it's lean and you can just literally put your hand in the packet and eat it if you're that starving. We don't get to
yeah,
that point, but my
yeah,
go-to would be for me, Tanya, what works for me is I always have avo in the house. So,
yeah,
which is a good fat. So I would have half a avo sliced up. I would have 30 grams of cheese. I would just have I literally don't even measure it
mm,
anymore because I know the
yeah,
size and the slicing and whatever. My
yeah,
cheese and my biltong. That for me
yeah.
is a go-to and
Perfect.
it's so tasty. I don't even have to cook it, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is steak and eggs. I
Oh,
have a
yeah,
whole new
absolutely.
appreciation, love for steak and eggs. I absolutely love because like you say, it's the most nutrient dense food. So
Yeah.
for me, steak and eggs, hands down, is
Mhm.
absolutely wonderful. What else? We always have Greek yogurt in the fridge because it's
Yes.
also something that you can literally, you know, scoop it out the dish. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just how hubby and
And it's
I.
yeah, as it's so and
It's
it's so versatile. I mean, you can actually use the Greek yogurt as a mayonnaise. If there's anything like
yes,
for tuna, for
loved
instance,
it.
just a little bit of Greek yogurt that tastes like mayonnaise, just some salt and
Yes.
pepper. Yeah, that's the type of thing. If I had to go 3 meals, that would be pretty much it. Will be quick go to would be a tin or two of tuna
Yeah.
and 1 or 2, maybe 3 teaspoons of Greek yogurt just to spice it up, just to make it a little bit more
Yes.
moist and salt and
Yeah.
pepper, there's a great meal right there. Biltong also big for me, but also when
Yes.
you said steak and eggs, I said, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. That's the one because, yeah, I mean, I can probably have steak and eggs for 10 days in a row. It really won't be
Me
an
too.
issue. I'd love it.
Me too. No problem. I'm like all in. And the other thing that I always have in my house is eggs. It's
Mm-hmm.
such a good protein, source of
Oh,
fat,
yeah.
everything. It's such an easy meal to prepare. We've often had where I do just a slice of mushrooms, onion,
Mhm.
cherry tomatoes, and I fry that all up. And then I
Yeah.
just pour it in scrambled egg and I put in some cheese on top of that. And
Mm,
it's just
nice.
divine. And then,
Yes.
if we have a bacon on the side, even biltong on the side of that is divine. And it's
Yeah.
actually
Beautiful.
nutrient dense, easy,
Yeah.
so quick to cook.
Yeah.
It's not these hours and hours of cooking.
Less complications in the kitchen. Fantastic. I
Exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
after you started implementing nutrient dense food, started seeing your appetite change and so forth, what would you say was the first change that you really noticed starting to get traction going with the program? I mean, normally people would say they notice a change in hunger, energy, sleep, mood, their clothes start fitting differently, blood sugar changes, inflammation, that type of thing.
Yes.
What would you say changed first for you? The first time that you thought, oh, I noticed something different.
Sure. Think it would be the hunger, and also to recognize if it was really truly hunger or if it was just that, like, I feel like it and the clock's
Mm.
saying, but am I really? And then also the adaptation and implementation of the salt water is so highly important. I
Yes.
can't overstate that. It's like there's such a myth behind the salt thing. We've had these
Mm.
conversations, but
Yeah.
it was a game changer for me when you started saying, rely on your broth, put some salt into your water. Like you said that on the onset of the program, like don't
Mm.
underestimate your salt intake, and add your lemon into that, make it nice and salty. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think that for me was, the hunger. I just could stretch longer. And I felt
Mm.
that, like, my focus I just wasn't thinking about food at all. It wasn't even like, oh, I wonder what. No, it wouldn't even come into
Mm.
my universe,
But that's, but that, Tanya, that's game changing. What you are referring to there is this change in appetite in such a way
Mhm.
that you actually you forget to eat, not in a negative way. It's just not top
Yes.
of mind. So if we take back to the beginning of the conversation where we're talking about complexity and noise about food and thinking about food all the time, it's
Yes.
breakfast snack, lunch snack, dinner snack. You're in the States, and most of the people with a modern diet eat 5 to 6 times a day. So you're constantly thinking about food. And now all of a sudden, changing what we eat, and we go, the switch has gone off. This thinking
Yeah.
about food all the time is not there. And that's quite profound. And a lot of people I've experienced, I don't know if you've experienced, I don't think you experienced this, but a lot of people on the program actually get anxious. They go, it's 10, 11 o'clock in the morning and I'm not hungry yet. I better eat. Something's going to happen to me. Something's going to go drastically wrong. I
Yeah.
have to eat. And then to convince people to say, you know what, just wait until you get hungry and then you eat. Just see where that takes you. And I promise you,
Yeah.
you are not going to faint. You are not going to have a major medical setback. Just let it happen. That's profound to experience that, huh?
Yeah, it did happen in my household. It was a very interesting experiment to do, more so my observation of my husband, because I told you this is a grazer. This is a
Yes.
person who snacks all the time. And because of the nutrient dense food, he adapted himself to say, you
Mm.
know what, before I leave for work, I'm actually not going to have my boiled eggs. I'm going to take it with and then see how long I can go and actually only eat
Right.
when I'm hungry. So I would
Yeah.
pack biltong, we would pack biltong, boiled eggs, basically that really
Mm.
in amounts that he could eat 2 or 3 times from it. So sometimes he'd take
Yeah.
3 or 4 eggs, but it's a case of he would go and he would come home or I would be out with him and he would only have to eat at 11, 12, sometimes 2 o'clock.
Mm.
And it was that, oh, there's no medical emergency. I'm actually okay. Very funny to observe. And it was like this milestone, and like he'd reached this massive win in his life because he was very eager to tell my daughter that you won't believe it. I'm actually fasting like me,
Yes.
Dad. I'm actually doing this.
Yeah.
And
And
so
and
much
not even
so,
and not even trying. It just came.
no.
Mm.
Yes. And so much so, the influence has been in our eating that my daughter has even adapted the fasting thing and
Mm.
taken my heed and what I've said. And you need to look at this and read
Awesome.
this and check this out. That she's implemented it because
Mm.
she's been the myth one on oh no, that, it doesn't work for me. And, oh no,
Yeah.
this medical emergency type thing. But she's completely changed that viewpoint now. So we did have that in our household for sure. And it was a
Yeah.
very funny observation for me. I experienced that too, where I was like, it's 2:00 and I haven't eaten. And sometimes I went to like 4:00 and I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's 4:00. I'm feeling actually a bit hungry. Okay. And I would have literally a handful or two of biltong and that's it.
Yeah.
It wasn't the
Amazing.
sit down with your meal, this massive
Yeah.
event.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me about tracking. You alluded to Chronometer, you alluded to tracking. Just briefly, just quickly talk to us about your experience about actually physically noting your food on a proper piece of software that told you what you were eating in relation to your macronutrients.
Yes. So I love this feature. I've used other ones before. I love the one that you use on your program. I love the fact that it just works for me. Like if I have to track it, it's like tracking a statistic. In a company, you want to know certain things so that you get an upturn. You want to know certain things. Exactly the same with what am I putting in my mouth at that time and what is it consisting of? How nutrient dense is this? So it would help me often too when I was in the supermarket and I would have to buy something or decide on a meal somewhere. I would go, should I do this or this one? Or, oh no, that's a no, because I can see it's got too much for what I need, for what I'm tracking. So for me, it was a game changer to be able to track what I was doing and what I'm eating. It was very important for me to do that. So I wouldn't necessarily always get it right to do it immediately as I was doing it. But at the end of the day, I would try my utmost to absolutely track every single thing that went into my mouth. And it kept me accountable because I would know I have to put this in there and I have to show it because who am I lying to? The worst thing to do is lie to yourself.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you can't go, oh, I magically didn't have that piece of cake or muffin or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was what was lovely about your program too. You were like, life happens. It's progress over perfection. So if you ended up having the muffin, so what? Put it on there. No one's shirting you. You're not being crucified.
Yeah.
Your overall weekly stat is it's actually you don't have to flog yourself to death because you had something,
Yeah.
and it's actually and because of being fat adapted, we recover from that so fast.
Correct.
And that's something I've never experienced before.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of the muffin, talk to me about how did you deal with social events like family meals, restaurants, holidays, going away. I remember you traveled up to Joburg to go visit your kids a couple of times during the program. How did you handle those? Did you find it difficult?
Look, I wouldn't say it was a walk in the park, but you consciously, again, it comes down to mindset and identity. So I adapted the saying of, oh, I don't do that anymore. Thank you, but
Good.
I just don't do that anymore, So people that travel that say, oh, I couldn't, that's nonsense because I've said this before in other discussions. There's a bolt-on shop in every mall that I know of ever
Yeah.
in South
True.
Africa. You can go and buy yourself, and that's what I did. So bolt-on has kept me through because I know I can go buy 200 rands worth of bolt-on that I can either dispense a little bit into my handbag or keep it in my room because I didn't want to have and that's by choice, right? And I don't feel like I missed out on the sociableness of eating because eating's very social, right?
Yeah. Very
Um,
much.
so sometimes it's challenging, and I didn't always get it right. I have had
Yeah.
my carrot cake. We've spoken about that. And I have had a scone or a flapjack. You so once threw me under the bus and said, "Yeah, I see your flapjack stack with your mascarpone. Wonderful. Was it good?" And I was like, "Yes, that's actually, but
But that's the
that's
thing. We do,
also
yeah,
right."
we do eating, yeah, sorry, we do eating differently without the guilt trip. It's
Yeah.
about, was it worth it? No, it wasn't worth it.
Yes,
Well, you know what? Don't do it
yes,
again. But was it worth it?
yes.
Right. Remember
Yeah.
that place and go back there. If the itch is there, go scratch it there. Make it worth it. It needs to be
Yes.
proper.
And I could tell that when I did have these things, again, I didn't flog myself and have that guilt, like you're saying, it's a guilt-free situation. So I wouldn't be like, now I got to work hard at the gym or whatever it is. I would have it and I would go, no, that's lekker, it's nice. But I know I would definitely have mucus after
Yeah.
having something like that. So continual then, because your body is so adapted to eating so clean, whatever clean means to a person. But the
Yes.
way I was eating, was not sugars and all that stuff. So when I did have a piece of cake or something, I literally woke up stuffy and snotty and not to
Mm.
be gross, but you have a constant postnasal drip, drip. And I'm aware enough to go, okay, it's
Yeah.
because I had that. Others would
And
just
how
go,
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
the
How
weather.
interesting is
Oh,
it? Yeah. How
yeah,
often this, back to the conventional stupidity, is people
yeah,
would say, I just can't get rid of this postnasal drip. I can't, I seem to have a sinus infection or they stuck. Meanwhile, you've been scoffing pizzas and you've been eating bread for the last 3, 4 weeks more than usual, and your body can't take it. It's
yes,
not this
yeah.
allergic, what word I'm looking for?
Reaction. Yeah,
Reaction. Thank you very much,
yeah,
to what you are eating. It's just
yeah,
amazing. But once you eat clean, as you say, we talk about
yes,
eating clean as eating
yeah.
off our lists, eating the close to nature foods, not the highly processed stuff. Within a
Yeah,
couple of weeks, you pick up quickly when you've
yeah,
eaten unclean, highly processed
yes,
stuff, and your body responds negatively to it. It's like, what is going on? Meanwhile,
yes,
you've been living with us for your whole life, and it just became
yes,
your new normal. You didn't know that there's something else out
yeah.
there. So yeah, so that's
So,
that's awesome.
so for me, I would say your program, again, just to reiterate, everything that we learned in the module, the little lesson we had per week, you naturally are ending up doing that. So it was such a easy transition, such an easy program from that perspective
Mm,
because you naturally are doing it already. And so it'd be
yeah.
like, oh, I'm actually already doing that. How cool is that? And it
Yeah.
would be like, it's not difficult. But I can tell you, one of the most profound things that I learned
Mm,
with doing your program and doing this journey with you was the complete myth around sweetness. Okay.
yeah.
So whenever I was yo-yo dieting, whichever program I did before, I always have my sweetener in my handbag because I don't do sugar.
Yeah.
So, I would do the sweetener and not the aspartame or the bad stuff. So it would be sucralose, it would
Mm.
be,
Xylitol.
stevia or xylitol. Yeah.
Mm,
So, that's much better, don't you know? Now, the game changer and the mind shift, which was so profound, is that your body does not recognize the difference whether you're having a sugar or a sachet of your sweetener or a piece of cake or a piece of bread. All
mm,
your body here says is sweet, ooh, yummy, cortisol spike. It's not going to identify the difference. So
mm.
you might as well have that piece of bread if that's what you're after, or have that proper real sugar. But for me,
Sure.
it was so profound that I completely, in that first week, cut out all sweeteners. And I had a sugar withdrawal of note. I really had this headache, like, and I said to my husband, I can see how sugar is a drug and that it's so readily
So
available
true.
because promise you, if I say to you, I said to my husband, just like, I need my sugar fix. Just give me a sweetener. I knew I didn't want to really, and we didn't have any. We got rid of all of it. But I'm so grateful that I actually did that because I don't drink any sweetener in my coffee. It doesn't matter whether it's here or I go out or where I am. I don't have any sweetener whatsoever. And my daughter now too has completely shaken
Good.
that
Great.
100%. So
Yeah.
again, it's in a packet. It can't be good for you.
Yeah, if you start off with that as a base in a packet,
Yeah,
not good. Just stay away.
yeah,
You'll be so healthy,
yeah.
right? Speaking
But it
of
was
this,
profound. The
yeah,
sugar thing for me, even though it was sweetener, was like a game changer, profound. Like, I can't tell you, that for me was key, absolute key.
awesome.
And I don't want to fall into that habit again. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I just don't do that anymore, you know?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we give other people listening to this a couple of tips, stuff that you've realized that work very well for you, I want to ask you two questions. One is if you'd pick one person, a close friend, your partner, or a doctor, what would they say was the biggest change that about you that they would notice? So let's say your partner, your husband. Yeah, if I had to ask Gavin, listen, what is the biggest change in Tanya that you've noticed? What do you think he's going to tell me?
Oh my word. What a question. Well, not to state the obvious, but my main reason for doing this was to lose weight.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the thing because I don't see people for a while and then I saw them and they're like, oh my hat, like you've lost weight. And
Mm.
my husband would definitely, not to get down to the physiological of it. So I
Yeah.
can't give you like this, beautiful
No,
kind of
sure. But I mean,
made
that
up
was
thing. But
that was
that
your
was a
goal.
big change. It was my goal was to drop
Yeah.
and I'm still not where I want to be,
Mhm.
but I know that I will get there continuing this and sticking to this.
Yeah.
And in fact, we actually going to start a 3-day fast starting tonight by choice.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Because we haven't done one for a while and we thought, okay,
Mm.
we're going to kick it off now so that we'll end on Sunday evening.
Great.
But I would tell you, he would probably say he can see the difference in my body shape,
Yeah.
losing weight. He's my husband. He
Yeah.
gives me hugs. He's like, oh, there's less of you.
Yes.
You know,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
he would just go, oh, I can feel you losing weight, babe, because he
Yeah.
sees
Yeah.
me every day. So it's
Of
not
course.
as dramatic as someone who doesn't see me.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I think
And
he
tell
would
me,
say that.
yeah. Okay. Fabulous. And tell me, we talk about non-scale victories. That's the stuff that we don't measure. That's mood, confidence, calmness, better sleep, mental clarity. What would you say of the non-scale victories stood out for you?
I would say I honestly would say again mindset and
Mm.
and my viewpoint on fasting and what it can actually do for you.
Mm.
It's a game changer, I think, because first off, just to be able to stick to it to do it, and then I would say probably have good energy anyway. But I would say
Yeah.
there is an improvement in the energy level
Mm.
and
Would you say there's a
sleep.
change in consistency of energy, like where previously you might have ups and downs from energy levels? We could find that your energy went a bit down and then up, where now you are more consistently experiencing energy levels.
Yes, I can honestly say that that has to do with what I'm eating and
Mm.
the nutrient denseness of the food. I can immediately tell if I've had a chicken salad for dinner or if I've had steak and eggs for dinner. I will definitely be able to tell you the next day what my body's output of power ratio energy is according to that. The non-scale victory, the fasting is, especially during a day 2 or 3.
Yes.
That is mind blowing. I said to you, you feel so liberated, you feel so empowered, the confidence that goes with that. And I think the trust and the certainty I have in my own body, because I know what I feel and what I experience, and that what I'm capable of in a fasted state, that people can't tell me, you shouldn't train, or you're going to be feeling flat. You should just rather, rest or what. I'm like, no, let's go. Let's do this. So that for me is a massive win. And that's not scale, that's not on a scale or anything. I would say that is my certainty in how my body reacts to what I put into my mouth, and my output of energy flow, and what I'm capable of doing in a fasted state is far superior than eating your
And
3
it's
meals a
amazing, right?
day or whatever.
Yeah, and maybe to put that into perspective for people regarding fasting. Also, earlier in the conversation, we alluded to really having to coach people through the process of waiting until they are hungry before they eat, because they're so used to the fact that they need to eat all the time. And then where you went to a 3-day fast whilst you were actually still actively training. So, I mean, to contextualize that is, people think that also when you're fasting, you need to lie on the couch or in your bed for 3 days and just don't do anything because your body is battling and struggling. Not the case at all. Higher levels of energy, better brain quality, amazing workouts, and you're not eating. Like, come on, how does that work? But once you've experienced it, the confidence of, I'll eat when I get to the right food. I don't have to immediately eat crap because there's nothing else available. I'll just wait until I get home, or I can get to a place that's got a piece of biltong, or a nice place where I can get something that's healthy. So yeah, it's an amazing.
And the clarity of mind that goes with that is just like, you can't explain it to somebody unless they've actually experienced it. It's one of those location jokes, it's like, you don't know until you don't know, It's like we're on in this inner secret is like, okay, we know because we've been there and we've done it. But I can really confidently say this, together, my hubby and I have done this fast together over the 3 days and stuff. And the clarity of mind, the energy output, it's just amazing. It's really next level. It's like you were operating here and now you operate in here. And it's just like the capability of what you can do is just mind blowing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. I want us to close off, Tanya, with two pieces of advice that you might give somebody that's wondering whether it's worthwhile, whether they can get out of a rut. Like, what's the smallest first step you'd recommend to someone listening today to get started on a health journey with real impact? What's the smallest first step that you recommend somebody must take?
So I would say just do it. Don't overthink it. Often it's in the actions that lead to the best results, because I call it analysis paralysis. You go through this whole analysis of what if and if I and should I and I don't know and it could be. Forget the noise, push it away, make a decision for you, not for anybody else. Don't do this for anybody else. Do it for you. And take that first step. Just be brave, have courage, and just do it because it's possible. And that with a sounding board such as yourself or the group sessions, you have that sounding board. Nobody ever did it on their own, and if they did, it's much more difficult. It's so much better to have the support system, but just, just do it. Do it scared, do it frightened, do it hungry, do it overweight, do it lethargic. Just do it. Just take the step, because your future self will thank you. You'll look back at this and go, like I said, I can honestly tell you, it was in my top 2 decisions for 2025 was to actually do your program. Because, and my husband will tell you the same. He's sitting right here next to me at his desk, and he will tell you the same thing, saying it was the best thing we did because we learned so much about our own bodies. And just take that step, even though it's frightening and you feel like you've passed that point of no return, you will. And just be brave and step out and just do it. Just walk forward. Don't look back. Just walk forward and keep the motion going.
Yeah, fantastic advice. It's just act. Anything that's doable is acting. So act.
Don't think.
And then the other
just act.
Just act. And then as motivation, what would you say to someone who feels hopeless right now? There's somebody that says, I'm down and out. I don't know how I'm going to turn this around. What would you say to them?
I'd say to them, quite honestly, that I think that the way you've been eating and the nutrition that you've had is contributing to your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not the real you. That true self, really, really true self, will dig deep enough to go, I can do this. And that the way you've been eating and living is contributing to where you at right now. For something to change, something has to change. So you have to take that step. And the way that you're feeling so down and out right now in that moment, this moment, right here, right now, I always say you're one decision away from changing your life entirely. And it can be worse or it can be good. It doesn't matter, but you're one decision away. And
very true.
No matter if you're down and out and you're feeling that way, it's not truly you, because real, true you, like who you are natively, will take care of you, will love you, will want the best for you. And that what you've been eating and surrounding yourself with has got you to this position. So nutrition is key to changing that, because when you eat better food, it's almost like the pathways get connected and you just are better, and your everything will shift for you. And just do that.
Thank you, Tanya. That's wonderful words of hope. And I agree with you. It is really about believing in your true self, because that person is there. And the reason that you feel hopeless is that you know that there is hope out there. So tap into that hope and slowly but surely start changing your identity and your image about yourself, and say, I am healthy, I am energized, I've got clarity, and so forth. And slowly but surely you'll start migrating towards that. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So Tanya, I absolutely loved having this conversation with you. You were such a trooper in our 12-week program. I loved how you engaged with that and your success, and also the way that you're spreading the word, not only getting your family involved, but the way that you are also talking to other people about this. This is wonderful. So thank you very much for your time. And also all the best for LifeWave and the patches. You are doing wonderful work there, and I wish you all the best with that as well. And thank you for being part of Master Your Metabolism. Anybody can do it. You just need to step in and get it done, right?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sean, and thank you for just being so encouraging all the time. That's also something that really, this guy, you can never do anything wrong. He's like, don't worry about it. progress over perfection. And those words is, when I think of that, that's Sean telling me that. And it's just been wonderful to be part of your program. And I continue on it because this is my way of life now. And this is just what I do. So thank you for empowering me into being a better version of myself. And yeah, I will absolutely, keep telling people and spreading the word because they need to know and they need to, we mythbusters, telling them the right way of doing this. Go and speak to Sean. He'll tell you all about it. So thank you very much. And for having me on the call, it's been wonderful to chat to you.
Thank you, Tanya. It's been great.
Thank you so much.